Hello and welcome to Paul Taylor Glass Lessons. Today I'm going to be showing you how I make my basic fish pendant. I'm going to be turning the top fin into a loop so it can be worn as a pendant, but this design and this tech can be incorporated in functional pieces, sculptures, whatever. But for this demo, I'll be making it into a pendant. I'm going to be using 4 different colors. I'm going with whiteout, midnight, ninja for the black, and this striking teal. Can't remember the name of it. It's a North Star. It has the word silver in the title. Just can't remember the name of it. So I'm going to be using 4 colors. Going to be using the midnight as kind of the blank, and we'll be striping color on top. And then for the eyes, we'll be doing a combination of white, midnight, and the ninja. So I'm going to set these aside. I'm going to be using just regular clear 7mm rods as handles. And as far as the tools, we're going to be using our paddle, our graphite pad, our sculpting knife, and our small graphite reamer to get the loop and the pendant done. So let me get the camera set up here. Let me get this handy dandy lens put on. We'll get started. Get my water out of the way, get the torch fired up. So I'm starting with this rod of midnight. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to a large flame, and I'm gonna build up a medium-sized gather on the end here. Just gonna work my way just by heating the end, keeping it angled pointing up, and slowly letting it gather into a ball, letting it fall back on itself. Here, let me move you a little bit closer. There you go. All right, so yep, I'm just gonna be heating this rod, keeping it angled, pointed up, and kind of just let it gather up into a medium-sized ball. And as always, depending on how big you want to go or how small, you can really just play around with it, do whatever suits you. For this, I'm gonna go about medium size. In the end, I'll probably heat up about 4 inches of this and melt it into a medium gather. We're almost there. Just gonna give it a little bit more. Just keeping sure to heat the entire thing, keep it turning, keep it on center, and just make sure I'm focusing a little bit of that heat on the straight rod below the gather, just so I can get it hot enough to kind of be consumed by the gather. And slowly just working my way down. A few more seconds and I'll take this out of the flame, keep it on center, keep it turning, and just allow it to cool off a little bit. So I've got a medium-sized gather here. Give it a few seconds to cool down and stiffen up, and I'm going to do 2 stripes of white, 1 on each side, and then 2 stripes of that striking teal, 1 on each side. So I'll have 4 stripes with open bands of the midnight in between. And then I'll melt that so it's mostly smooth, attach a handle, and give it a bit of a twist. So I'm gonna drop down to a small flame. I'm gonna start with this white. Gonna get the end hot. Just clean up the tip here. Make sure it's nice clean, blemish-free area so we can get a nice clean stripe. Starting at the tip, melting my way down to the bottom of the gather, and tearing it off. Now going to the opposite side, starting at the tip, melting my way down to the bottom of the gather, tearing it off. You can see right here we've got a stripe of white going down each side. Now I'll switch over to the teal, do the same thing. Just gonna tear off the end here and give it a nice stripe. So getting the rod hot, getting about 1/4 inch of the rod hot, starting at the tip, In one motion, drag it straight down to the bottom and tear it off. And again on the other side. I now have 4 stripes going down the side of this Midnight Gather. Now I'm going to go up to a little bit larger flame and start heating that entire gather. And once it's hot, I'm going to attach a handle on the end. Make sure the heat is even throughout the entire thing. Once it is, I'll give it a gentle twist. So right now, my handle is attached, just applying the flame to the entire surface, keeping it turning, keeping it on center. And after about 30 seconds or so, 40 seconds, it should be hot enough to start giving it a twist. I just want to make sure the entire thing is hot, so that way when I do the twist is even through the entire thing. It's not twisting tighter towards the thinner areas. So right now, I'm just spinning one hand faster than the other. Alright, now that it's been twisted, I'm going to remove my handle. Going to heat the end and just remove a little bit of this glass at the end here. There's a little bit of the clear from the handle left, so I'm just going to tear that off. Kind of hard to see, but we've got it twisted, somewhat spiraled up. I'm now going to heat this entire thing, kind of still keep it in somewhat of an egg lemon shape, but just get the entire thing hot. Here, I'll switch to my large flame. All right, I'm gonna heat this entire thing, get it pretty warm, and then I'm gonna just give it a gentle flatten between my paddle and my graphite pad. I don't want to turn it into a pancake, but I want to get it somewhat flattened, because that's how I like to do my fish, flatten little fish. All right, that's looking good. Now just gonna slowly, gently between the paddle and the graphite pad, press it, flip it over, press it again, flip it over, press it again. Give this a few seconds to cool off. Well, actually, before I do that, I'm just gonna flame polish the sides real quick, because whenever we press a graphite tool against the surface of glass, it'll leave a little bit of a mark. Just make sure both sides are flame polished. Now we'll give it a few seconds to cool down. So what we're going to do next is apply the fish's lips. And I'm going to do them out of this fun striking teal. So I'm going to heat up the end of this rod here. Not very much of the rod, maybe a 1/4 inch of it, 1/8 of an inch, just a little bit of the end. And I'm going to apply a small dot right to the very center end of our fish body. Tear it off, and you can see just a little dot of that teal. Now I'm going to grab our sculpting knife. Going to heat that little glob, make sure it's melted round, make sure the heat is even throughout it, and I'm going to use the knife to score straight across it to turn it into a mouth. I like to go up and down, press firmly. There you can see got a little mouth there, little lips. Now, next step, I am going to put on the eyes. Gonna use my whiteout for the eyes, and then I'm gonna do little dots of, not sure, I may grab a little blue off the bench. And let's see here. Just gonna pick the spot for the first eye, melt it right on. Now I like to go and make sure that it's melted in there. Don't want the eye to pop off the surface. Make sure it's a good connection. Now I'm going to do the other eye, making sure to keep them lined up. You want the eyes to be straight. You don't want it to be all cockeyed and wacky looking. So trying my best here to keep them lined up. Now I'm just going to melt this eye on. Making sure all sides are connected and melted and smooth. Let's see. What would be a fun eye color? I'm going to do a little dot of cobalt blue and then a dot of the ninja. So I'm just going to take this rod of cobalt blue here, heat up just the end, get it hot, grab it with my tweezers and pull it into a little bit of a stringer. Just want a fine point on the end here. So we've got our eyes, and we got a nice point of cobalt blue. I'm just going to do a small dot on the end of each eye. And now I'm going to melt those dots in smooth. Now I'm going to grab that rod of ninja right here and try to do an even smaller dot right on top of that blue. And I'm going to try to pull this down into a nice fine point, just heating the end, pinch it with the tweezers, tear it off into a point. And melt it in smooth, and now go to the other eye. All right. So now we've got our little fish mouth, fish body, fish eyes. Now it's time to do the fish fins. And I am going to do them out of the teal. So I'm going to start by just heating up about a ½ inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch of this rod of teal. Get it warm and attach it right to the top where the top fin is going to be. And just attach it right onto the top. Now I'm just going to make sure I'm heating up enough of the rod up here so when I tear it off there's still enough glass to where I can make a detailed fin and also pull it into a loop so it can be worn. So I've just melted a nice little glob up top there. Now I'm going to heat the connection between the new glass and the fish body. Heating on all sides, making sure it's melted in smooth and it's a clean connection. All right, and now I'm going to focus my heat just on that big gather. Kind of let it ball up on itself, making sure heat both sides. Heat the entire thing, kind of letting it fall back, become a little bit squat on top. All right, so now what I like to do is flatten these little things between my tweezers. I like to use kind of the thick neck part of the tweezer. So I'll just go like this, press it flat. And now I'll heat both sides of it. Grab the rod of color, touch it to the top, and pull it back. And then heat and tear it off. And there we got a little fishy fin. And you know what? I think I'm going to do an attached loop on this. Just because I like the shape of this fin, I don't want to mess it up. So we'll go back after and we're going to use a little of the midnight to attach a loop. I think that'll be fun. All right, so now I'm going to do the little bottom fins here. Kind of right below the eye, I'm going to put a small dot on either side. I should say a small gather, not a dot, small gather. And I'm just going to melt it in, just like all the other connections. Make sure all sides are melted in smooth, clean connection. That way the piece will be nice and stable. So I've got this little gather coming off the side of the bottom. I'm now going to use the side of my tweezers here to just flatten it. And you can see now we got a nice little flattened fin. So I'm just going to hit both sides with the flame for a few seconds. Touch this towards the middle back area and drag it into a little point and tear it off. That leaves us with that little fin. And now I'm going to repeat that process on the other side. Just a small gather, melt it on there. Tear it off. Heat all sides of it, make sure it's connected, make sure it's smooth. Make sure your heat's even throughout it. And then outside of the flame, using the sides of your tweezers, just a little flatten. Now we're gonna hit both sides of that with the flame, making sure we melt out those little marks from the tool and get the heat even throughout it. And then just touch the middle back area with your rod of color and drag it back into a point and tear it off. So we're almost there. We're almost at finished fish time here. Gonna grab a little clear handle right here. And I'm just gonna attach this handle right onto the top lip. Make sure my handle's on straight. Take it out of the flame, keep it turning. Now I'm gonna tear off this rod of midnight here. Just remove that. Gonna heat the back side of the fish, melt it all smooth, and then tear off some of this glass so we have a nice clean termination where the spiral of color ends. And now I'm gonna use this rod of teal to melt 2 more fins for the back. Gonna give it the little top and bottom fins. Well, you know what? Actually, yeah, I'm gonna do that. You can do 1 fin in the back, kind of have it flared out. There's a lot of different methods to this, but I'm gonna give it 2 fins here. Gonna melt a medium-sized gather here on the bottom of the back. Tear it off. And now I'm gonna make sure it's melted on there, make sure the connection is nice and clean. Gonna take it out of the flame and use the sides of the middle of the tweezer here to kind of flatten it. And now I'm gonna do another one just above it. Tear that off. And now just heating that connection in, making sure it's clean, all solid, one piece. Hitting it from both sides, top, bottom, left and right. Melts it into an even gather with even heat, and then we'll take it out of the flame and flatten it with the sides of the middle of the tweezers. All right, and now I'm just gonna glaze both sides with a little bit of the flame there to flame polish out any tool marks. And now, starting with the top one, just gonna heat it, touch onto the top of the back, and drag it off into a point, tear it off. Now we'll do the same on the bottom. Heat both sides, touch onto the bottom of the back area, and drag it out into a point. Tear off. And there we have a pretty funky little fish. I'm now going to give it a loop so it can be worn as a pendant. I'm going to take this rod of midnight here. Let's see. Yeah, I'm just going to go straight onto the top of the fin. Going to make sure both the top of the fin and the rod of color are hot and in the flame. Make sure it's a permanent bond and attach the two. And now I'm going to move the flame up about a ½ inch on this rod of color here. Turn it, make sure to heat both sides. Tear off this rod, leaving about a ½ inch on top. Now going to heat both sides and bend it into a loop. Just using my tweezers, gently bending it. Gonna tear off some of it. I think I made it a little bit too large. And just bending it back to itself. Touching it on to the bottom of where it was connected to the fin. And now I'm going to a small flame and I'm just going to melt that connection in clean. And I'll use my small graphite reamer here to flare it open. And here, let me switch to my sculpting knife. I'm going to focus my heat on this thick area here. Just want to flare this hole open a little bit. It's kind of a wacky loop, but I kind of like it. Huh. Yeah, I kind of like that a lot. It's kind of a funny loop, but I think it's gonna be nice. I think it'll hang well. So here, let me get the lens off here, get some better light on this. How are we looking? Trying to get the best light in the shop here. Get the camera to focus. But there you see, nice double-sided fish with a funny little face. Pretty easy to do and great for attachments, great for making an aquatic piece. You can do these in different sizes, kind of different body shapes, different fins. Really get a variety going, but the same basic assembly. So very fun thing to do. One of the first things that I learned on the torch was how to make a fish. And I still make them from time to time, especially when I do, aquatic themed pieces. So have fun with this one. Definitely play around with different color combos. I found that opaque colors work best. Transparent colors can kind of look weird. Transparent colors look okay if you're doing them on the fins, but not so much for the body. But yeah, there you have it. Let me throw this in the kiln real quick. All right, so there you have it. That's my basic fish pendant, fish sculpture. Definitely try different colors, different sizes, different, all around everything. Just play with the basic starting point technique and go from there. And as always, thank you for all your support. I wouldn't be doing this without you, and I am excited to see what y'all make. Take care.